Hi, my name is Ethan Vasquez, and I'll be talking with you today about Henry Ford. Now, I couldn't think of a better place to do this presentation than the comfort of my own car, which is probably no doubt made affordable because of what he accomplished over 100 years ago. Now, let's start off with some history. Henry Ford was born in 1863 in Michigan. He really enjoyed tinkering. More specifically, he enjoyed tinkering with watches. Now, this hobby of his led to him being the town repairman, the unofficial town repairman, which was great because he got to do something that he loved and benefit from it, which we'll talk about later on in this presentation. He was also known to be a pacifist during World War I, and he was also an author. One of his more famous books by the name of The International Jew. He was an American industrialist. He was a sponsor of the assembly line. A lot of people think that he was the founder of the assembly line, the inventor of the assembly line. He was not. He was just a sponsor of it. And more importantly, and probably what we know him most by today, was of course the founder of the Ford Motor Company. Now, the Ford Motor Company didn't exactly get off to the best of starts. Henry partnered with a guy by the name of Murphy to initially launch their company in 1901 after having a large spike in popularity due to Henry and Murphy partnering with a race car driver by the name of William C. Harold. William C. Harold raced the Ford racing car of in that time with a horsepower of 23. Now horsepower 23, not that much, but actually barely any. But back then it was more than enough to be competitive and more than enough to win a lot of races. Now, this newfound success or newfound popularity when they initially launched their company was, I wouldn't say, the best thing for Henry. It led to his partner Murphy bringing on an additional person into the company as a consultant by the name of Henry Leland, and bringing Henry Leland on caused Henry Ford to leave his own company while they were still bearing his name. Now, lucky for Henry Ford, Leland and Murphy didn't like having his name on their company. So they ditched his name, they got rid of it, and they renamed the company Cadillac. Now, this was great for Henry because this allowed him to relaunch his company in 1903. Now, he didn't just throw his company out there. He much similarly followed the same regimen per se that he did when he first launched his company. So what he did, he partnered with another race car driver by the name of Oldfield, and Oldfield raced Henry's new and improved Ford racing vehicle that now had a horsepower of 80 plus. This once again boosted his popularity because the vehicle was a good vehicle. It won a lot of races, so why would it naturally not be successful in the automobile industry? So it was. Henry had another boost of popularity when he released his new company. He released his new company with probably the most famous vehicle that we now know today, which is the Ford Model T. Why was the Ford Model T so stinking popular? Because it was affordable. It was affordable and it was durable. It was the everyday middle class man could buy it. And this was great because it really appealed to a large market. Now, the Ford Model T produced about 250,000 vehicles in 1914. Just 2 years later, that number increased from 250,000 to 477,000 vehicles. By 1918, the Ford Model T took up more than half of the total automobile cars that were owned in that time in the United States of America. So, needless to say, this vehicle absolutely took off in the automobile industry. But the final number capped out at about 15 million cars, which is mind-blowing. Even now, like if a car is 15 million produced, that's a substantial amount. So imagine that in 1925. So that was super impressive. But once again, this success led to some cons, of course. Ford stockholders wanted something more. They were happy with the success of the car, but they were thinking that Ford can do better, that Ford should release another car with some new features on it. Now, Ford liked this idea, but he didn't like it in the time span that they wanted, and they kept on pressuring him. So what did he do? Ford launched his secret plan. So what he did is he gave the company over to his son. He said, hey son, you can have the company. And then he spread rumors about him starting another company with all the best employees from the current Ford Motor Company. His goal was to have all the stockholders sell their stocks so that he could gain full control. And it worked. They did sell their stocks. They sold their stocks to him, and he once again regained full control of the Ford Motor Company off of this rumor of a Ford Motor Company 2.0, which never came to be. Now, Ford ultimately did release another model called the Ford Model A with new features. It was released a lot later than what the stockholders wanted, but it was successful also, but nowhere near as successful as the Ford Model T. Now, I guess you can say, like, what was Ford's call to action? To produce a lot of cars? And no, I don't think so. He stood for a lot more. Ford was a fair guy. He wanted to produce something great for people while not mistreating the ones in place and making it affordable. And ultimately, that's what he achieved. His call to action was to revolutionize the automobile industry, and that's what he set out to do, and that's what he conquered. His followers, this resulted in his followers being really happy with where they worked. He treated them fairly. He gave them fair wages, fair tasks to do, fair hours. So what more could they ask for? He really put an importance upon them, and they definitely reflected in their work ethic. This resulted in his followers being loyal, his followers being more productive, his customers being loyal to him and the product, and everyone was really supportive of Ford and what he stood for and what he did. Now, what I can take from this is a lot. Now, I can take from Ford was that, any task, no matter how impossible it seems, any task can be completed if you divide it up into small, doable pieces. Don't look at the task as this gigantic, insurmountable thing. Look at it as chunk it along. Take smaller pieces out of it that you can conquer piece by piece so that you can ultimately, in the end, complete this. One thing that I can also take from it is that employees make the company. The company doesn't make employees. If I ever become the CEO or a manager or any sort of position where I'm in charge of someone, I'm gonna make sure that I put them on a level that they feel important and that they feel valued. Because an employee that feels valuable is gonna be productive and gonna do more and better work than an employee that does not. And then lastly is I can say that, one thing that he did, which, a lot of people don't really do today, I think Ford has stayed true to this, but he made a great product that is affordable, that was cheap. And I think that can be applied into many other fields too. I think that a product or service a great product and a great service can be provided for a small price amount. And I think that's something I'm really going to strive for and kind of push for as I pursue my current business ventures and my current career path. That's something I'm always going to look out for. So I can't think of a better way to end this presentation than with my favorite Henry Ford quote. And that is, a customer can have a car in any color as long as it's black.